to Sarah Attia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that. My name is Sarah. I'm an educator, a teacher, and an engineer by profession. I am the mother of 4 wonderful little children. Abdurrahman is 8, Amina is 6, Fatima is my lovely little one, she's 4.5, and my little one, her name is Tahrir. We named her after Tahrir Square because she was born after the revolution. We had hopes that she would grow up in a land of liberty and democracy. I am the wife of Khaled Al-Qazzaz. My husband, as he introduced, has been unjustly detained in Cairo's worst prisons for the last 286 days now. I am a survivor and an eyewitness of the military coup in Egypt. I'm here today just to tell you my story. A story that is one among thousands, but unique in its own accord. A story of injustice, oppression, fear, and tyranny, but also a story of hope and optimism for the future. Let me tell you a bit about myself just to get started, and my story of my family. I grew up in Toronto, Canada. You might not understand my accent. They've been telling me that since I got here, but I'll try to be clear. Okay. Khaled and I met at a Second Cup. It's a coffee shop well known on campus on College Street in Toronto. We were both students at U of T. Khaled was an activist, an advocate for human rights, and he had huge dreams. He dreamed of a better world for all humanity. He started a group on campus called SWJ, Students for World Justice. This was 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, and it still stands today. I was happy to find that out. He also started an orphan sponsorship that still remains at U of T today, where students are able to sponsor orphans all over the world. This is what Khaled was about. He left an imprint on all those who met him, and he also picked up a lot from Canada. He was like a sponge. He absorbed the concepts of freedom, democracy, and tolerance that was so foreign to that day Egyptian Mubarak time. We got married and we decided to move back to Cairo to start our project in education. We were both engineers, but we tried something new. We founded a school together that provided Egyptian children with education. I'm the principal of that school right now. It gives kids a chance to get good quality education. We're accredited by several American boards to give them American-style education. We introduced our students, which was very foreign in Cairo, to concepts of volunteerism, human rights, and community. In 2011, Khaled and I had grown very frustrated by Cairo, by Egypt. It was all about we were ready to move back to Toronto. And then the sound of the revolution came. On January 25th, Khaled was among the first to be down in Tahrir Square. I then had a little baby, Fatima, so I wasn't able to go so often. When he said goodbye to us on that day, we were so scared. We didn't know if he would come back. And many young men didn't. Many young men and women didn't. But thank God, Khaled came back. 18 days later, Mubarak left, and Khaled, alhamdulillah, survived that. Egypt celebrated, the world celebrated. A chance for freedom, a chance for a better Egypt. Khaled was extremely excited about an opportunity to be part of democracy in Egypt. He was young, he was full of energy, and he jumped on the chance to make a difference. He joined the presidential campaign of Dr. Morsi, Dr. Mohamed Morsi's presidential campaign team. He was the media guy for the presidential campaign, and he did a really good job at that. And they won. They won the first democratic elections. Khaled was appointed as part of the presidential team staff. He worked on files of foreign affairs, human rights, and women's rights. And he worked very hard. For the last year, during which Dr. Morsi was the president, my family, my children, and I witnessed as Khaled worked over 12-hour shifts daily to try to make Egypt better. On July 3rd, 2013, all of that came crashing to an end. On the day of the military coup, which happened to be Khaled, my husband's 31st birthday, my children and I waited for the cake for him to come home, and he didn't. We lost contact with him at the time that General Sisi announced the military coup. My last text message from my husband that day was, "Forgive me, I chose to stay with the president." Khaled was principled. He believed in the values that he spoke of, and he decided to stay loyal to democracy on that day.
Free, free Khaled.
Free, free Khaled.
Free, free Khaled.
My husband, the president, and 9 other presidential aides disappeared that day. We spent almost 2 months having no idea where they were. I would get a random phone call every couple of days on speakerphone that told me he was alive. My children asked me, where is our father? Why he doesn't come home from work? My little one, Fatima, in her very interesting way, she says, Baba was fixing Egypt. Why isn't he coming home? And now she says, it's someone else's turn to fix Egypt. I think Baba should come home. And I don't know what to say to them. Their eyes are full of sadness and confusion as they remember their father and how he used to tell them that he was fixing Egypt, making their home a better place. I continue to struggle to look back into their eyes and explain to them the concepts of injustice, oppression, and evil. How do you explain that to children? I try to protect their little spirits so that they do not lose hope in humanity. For the last 286 days, I have woken up daily to news, bad news after bad news after bad news. The worst case scenario keeps getting worse. I've woken up to friends who have died, to friends who have been imprisoned, and it keeps going. Our family has been subjected to continuous targeting. Khaled's elderly father has been imprisoned with no charge for no reason. Our lives have been torn apart. Both Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have documented Khaled's case. They have called it enforced disappearance. He's a political prisoner. He's an incommunicado, and they have both demanded, and so has the United Nations Human Rights Coalition. They have demanded that Khaled be released and that he has done nothing wrong. Khaled remained in that state of enforced disappearance. We had no idea where he was for 5 months. For 2 months, and then 5 months, 3 months later, we knew where he was, but he was still in that location. He was at the Republican Guard, the same place that was up on the screen where the protesters were protesting in front of, and there was 2 massacres in front of the Republican Guard. We had discovered that later on, and the military made it very clear to us that if we were to inform anyone that they were there, that wouldn't be a good thing. On December 17th, soon after the Human Rights Watch has had their statement that Egypt has political prisoners and should release them, Khaled was moved to Al-Aqrab, to our prison. For those of you who are familiar with Egypt and its horrible prison conditions, Al-Aqrab, which means the scorpion, is one of the worst. There was 2 days that remained on that day that we had no idea where he was, and for Egypt that is very scary. When we finally found out where he was, we became part of the legal system. And we said, at least now he's a number, at least now he's part of the system. I received a message on a torn piece of paper a few weeks later, and let me read that to you. It's a torn piece of paper bag, and this is Khaled's account of what happened to him. He wrote this, yeah. This is the first time that I decided to share this because I was worried about his safety. My conditions. I was kidnapped from the street after they took us out of the Republican Guard building. 7 civilian clothes officers. I was handcuffed, blindfolded, threatened at gunpoint. It was 9:30 p.m. in front of the Republican Guard building. As soon as we stepped out of the building, they moved us to the prison. Our bags and IDs were stolen. They were people from Amn Dawla. This is a security force in Egypt. We were put in solitary confinement, given torn prison suits and 2 small blankets in an empty cell with nothing except a non-functional toilet and a sink. It was the coldest day of the year, December 17. The prison cell is approximately 2 meters by 2.5 meters, unclean, uncovered toilet, with bars that don't close and that open to the hallway, and there's no access to any sunlight or open air. The 3 of us, it was him and 2 others, came into an empty wing with no access to others, no news, not allowed to call family or lawyers. We were not allowed out of our prison cell for 21 days. I only received clean underwear, which I had sent, 9 days after I was taken there. No access to hot water or clean water, 1 semi-hot meal a day, very poor conditions. The prison cell walls are filled with blood and dried insect. Sewage smells fills the location. Mosquitoes, cockroaches, and other insects. I couldn't sleep because of the cold and the mosquitoes. No bed, no mattress, no chair. No cleaning supplies, no soap, nothing. I got a bucket after a few days. I only received clothes after 10 days through my lawyer. I was investigated twice in the prison, once after 48 hours with no lawyer. The investigator said your case will not stand, there's nothing on you. They only want you there because you were so close to the president. The prison cell is so damp that the walls are covered with water every morning. We are not allowed to pray Jama'ah. We have no newspapers, no pens, no papers. Nothing is allowed in. Others joined the wing after that day. We have heard torture stories, many torture stories from Amn Dawla, which is a security service, and military camps. The last 3 months have continued in this manner. I'm almost done. Access to lawyers came only after 1 month. Prison visits for me and my children are very few and inconsistent. And they built a new facility when Khaled moved in there where when we visit him, he's behind a glass wall. And my kids have no physical contact with their father. When Tahir finally saw him, our 1.5-year-old, after so long, she did not recognize her father. He has been gone for more than half of her life. It was very heartbreaking for all of us. As we sit here today, Khaled has spent today in a 23-hour lockdown. No paper, no pen, no way to tell time, very minimal food, poor sleeping condition, and medication only when I am able to get it to him. No human interaction. My husband's health is deteriorating. What crime has Khaled done? 286 days of no freedom without charge. Was his crime that he dreamed of democracy, that he dreamed of a better Egypt? I asked the international community what crime my family has done to be ignored. What crime has Egyptians done for the suffering and the oppression to be forgotten? Abdurrahman turned 8 2 weeks ago. It was his birthday, and he spent the day asking why his father wasn't with him, why he didn't get him a gift, why he wasn't there for his cake. My little Fatima always says it's time for Baba to come home. I have no words to answer them. I came from Cairo 2 weeks ago. I plan to go back because I can't leave my husband. And God knows if I will be able to get back. I'm here today fighting for justice and freedom for my husband and for all Egyptians. To share with you my ordeal and that my family and thousands of Egyptians have lived through. I demand, like Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have demanded, that Khaled be released immediately, and that until then his prison conditions be improved. I'll finish in a minute by just reading to you the last note on a tissue paper that I received from my husband before I came. He said, "Please tell my friends everywhere that I love them, and I feel proud to know them. Everyone has engraved something special in my heart and shaped who I am. Tell them that their support keeps me going. Their kind words bring smiles to my heart. Their supportive actions push me forward, and their prayers reach me, bringing relief to my heart and going directly to the one who has control over all things. I am thankful to God for giving me strength and patience to overcome the physical challenges and has given me lighted a special path for me for self-discovery and cleansing. It is like a process of purifying precious metals. I am still holding up and want you to keep the call for freedom alive. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Lots of love. Thank you.
Down, down with the coup.
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 Thank you very much, Sister Sarah Attia.